You're listening to Following On with me, Neil Manthorp, alongside former England fast bowler Steve Harmison for the usual bustling show. Test match cricket returns this week. We'll look ahead to England's one-off Test match with Zimbabwe and hear from England captain Ben Stokes on his thoughts about the public perception of his Test side. We'll also be joined by England fast bowler and now coach Mark Wood and former Zimbabwe fast bowler Ed Rainsford. We'll hear from both Adil Rashid and Heather Knight ahead of England's respective white ball summers, and we'll bring you the final word. So plenty to come over the next hour. This is Following On. England begin their Test summer this week with a one-off Test match against Zimbabwe, a game of huge historical significance for the visitors. It's at Trent Bridge with live commentary available for overseas listeners on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. Harmy, it's obviously been looked at as a warm-up, and there's speculation about whether England might give debuts to Sam Cook and James Rew, two players who may be needed in the series against India, and if they go to Australia for the Ashes. But there's a danger, isn't there, of treating any game of first-class status, never mind Test status, as a warm-up. I mean, it's not the strongest Zimbabwe team, but there's there's potential for a slip-up if they're too cavalier.
Yeah, absolutely, and we'll talk a lot about Zimbabwe in the show and their fighting qualities, and you exactly what you just mentioned there. They've just had a warm up against a first class county side, and they lost because they treat it as a warm up. So there'll be a different Zimbabwe mentality when it come up against England. I expect England to win, and I expect England to win well. I don't expect England to give a debut to James Rew. I do expect him to give a debut to Sam Cook. And I don't think that's just giving somebody a cap because they're playing Zimbabwe. I think Sam Cook's earned the right to give himself a chance in the Test arena. And we'll see where it goes. In the last few weeks, we talked about the challenges that Sam's gonna face because of just literally from a pace point of view. But no, I'm looking forward to seeing this Test match. I'm looking forward to seeing the team because, like I've said in many weeks leading into this game, I'm playing four seamers if I'm playing India first Test match. But I think because it is against Zimbabwe and it is a 4-day Test match, I think England will want to play Shoaib Bashir. They'll want Ben Stokes to be alongside him and give him some confidence going into that India series because England are going to need a spinner against India. So I would imagine it's Matt Potts or it's England will play they've got to play Josh Tongue. He's a point of difference. So it's probably between Matt Potts or Gus Atkinson who doesn't play in that 11. But I expect England to be strong from a batting point of view. They're normal 1 to 7, and I do expect Sam Cook to play. So it's exciting times for the lad from Essex.
We mentioned James Rew there. Those who listened to the show a couple of weeks ago might remember him modestly saying that he wasn't even the best cricketer in his family. He mentioned Thomas Rew, his younger brother, 18 years old. He scored 100, an unbeaten 100 for the professional county club select 11 in that game against Zimbabwe. So maybe James is onto something there. We could have Rew brothers playing for England in the years to come. Okay, let's hear now from Ben Stokes as promised. He spoke to our colleagues at Sky Sports. He was asked whether he was frustrated around some of the narrative concerning this current Test side.
When you hear comments saying that we don't train hard enough, we're more bothered about golf, we don't work hard enough, it's just complete and utter, you're not going to be able to be an international sportsman for a long period of time if you don't have a work ethic. And everyone who walks into the Test team, into the white ball team, their work ethic is incredible. They're professional athletes. It's their job. For people to say that we don't work hard enough, especially from people who have played at the level, they know what it takes to be consistent and be successful at this level. You don't just wake up and rock out there and do well without working hard. But look, there's reasons as to why we do things in the way that we do it. And those reasons are for us to speak about together in the dressing room. And it's not just waking up and going, oh, we fancy doing this today because we do. There is a reason to everything that we do, because we feel it helps players, it helps the team, but it also is a way of taking the pressure of what we do off us without adding more to it. You know, there's enough pressure on the shoulders of everyone who walks out there with the 3 lines on their chest. And what we try and do is take any extra added pressure off the shoulders of people. And when you see us doing certain things that people might think, why are we doing that? There's a reason as to why we do it.
Good on Ben Stokes for speaking about a subject that obviously irritates him. Harmy, it just comes back to the old thing that's pertinent to all professional sport. You can do what you like if you're winning. Play as much as golf as you like. It's just that percent. If you're not winning, I mean, we've seen England training enough. We know that they focuses on quality training rather than quantity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I don't think we don't have this problem if England, had an obsession with fishing, would they? Stand in the bank of the river, throwing a rod in, and there wouldn't be an obsession. I'm not sure there would be much Instagram posts on interest around fishing, the same river rather than playing some beautiful golf courses. But that's in jest. They can do what they want. I mean, there's a few points in this, isn't there? So Ben's 100% right what he says. I have never seen in the last 4 or 5 years that I've been following the England cricket team on tour with talkSPORT, I have never seen a team work as hard as these guys. Never. I mean, they're ridiculously fit. I mean, I've seen Ben Stokes since he was 15 years old. And the body on him now is just ridiculous. I mean, what is he, 33, 32, 33? He is, I mean, physically, he's unbelievable. And every time I see Ben, I am always amazed by how good he looks in sort of from a physical point of view. And sometimes I think he actually looks too fit, because of the little chubby lad that came in Durham dressing room as a 15-year-old has definitely gone. And joking aside, I think they are supremely fit. They work very, very hard, and I won't have anybody have a go at them about how hard they work. What I think is getting misunderstood here, and I think it is, when Kevin had a go at them. I had a go at them about their preparation going into India, and when they stayed in Abu Dhabi and only went in for 3 days. Kevin had a go at them. I don't think Kevin was having a go at them as in how hard they work. I think he was questioning possibly about technical things that England were falling short on, i.e., they'd played 5 or 6 white ball games and they hadn't won many matches, and players were making the same mistakes. I think that's what Kevin was having a go at. I'm not sure he was having a go at them working hard or going off. He did say going off to play golf, but he just let as Kevin does, he let himself, get away from himself. So, I mean, I'm not having anybody say they don't work hard. I don't care about them playing golf. I actually quite enjoy them playing golf. I think it's brilliant that they do play golf, because for me, when you're on tour, especially now in the social media world that we live in and camera phones and everything that goes, these guys can't come out of the hotel. So the only chance they can get out the hotel is to get in a golf cart, go and spend 4.5 hours around in the sunshine, enjoying themselves in fresh air and getting away from what is a difficult time in their lives from a mentality point of view of you have to switch off from the way the game is. And the best way to do it is by getting out of your room, getting out of the hotel. And there's no other way better to do it than go and have a game of golf. I have got no problem with that whatsoever. And like you said, go all the way back to the start, manners. When you're winning, nobody cares. When you're losing, they want to, pardon the pun, they want a stick to beat you with. For me, golf is not a problem. It never has been. Physicality, this team never, ever been a problem, because I've never seen a team work hard enough. The problem I have seen possibly is from the point above, which is players making the same mistakes from a technical point of view, players not possibly learning from their mistakes from a technical point of view, and also, I mean, the blind faith in their selection is possibly the question that needs to be asked more than anything else, i.e., how many chances Zach Crawley had, how many chances has Ollie Pope had, all these things that I think people should be looking at rather than saying, well, they're getting beat because they play too much golf. Nonsense.
Yeah, and if you can't play golf, then and you want to relax, then maybe a lager shandy. Ben Stokes has just revealed that he's completely given up that too during this period of rehabilitation.
Yeah, he's given up alcohol for this time to get fit. So it just shows you how much England captaincy means to him. The England team mean to him. the will to win and to be the best version of himself, what that means to him, what India at home and Australia away means to him, and more importantly, what he means to the team. And that's the thing for me. He's doing things to make sure he means all-rounder, batter, bowler, full package. And that's what he's trying to strive for, to get fit for. And seeing some of the videos, listening to one or two people who have been working closely with him, he's there. He's there. I can't wait to see him on Thursday morning, go out with his blazer on, toss the coin, get ready, and hopefully we see the all-round package of Ben Stokes, not only against Zimbabwe, but fighting against India and ready for what is going to be, 10 massive test matches in the legacy of Ben Stokes. And that's why he is hopefully in the physical fitness that he's going to be.
Quick thoughts on Tim Southee's appointment. I mean, it's interesting. I guess we're used to coaches with considerable coaching credentials being associated with international teams, and Tim Southee is well, he was described in the ECB press release as specialist skills consultant. He's still playing. I mean, he's going to play in the 100 after the Test series. He's a great man, as we know, and he's a fantastic guy to have in the changing room. But I'm not saying it's a questionable appointment at all. I just want you to explain it.
It was good they didn't mention coach. It was good they didn't mention coach because, I mean, the level 4-3-4 system in this country is they're making a mockery of it. First of all, I have got no problem with Tim Southee as bowling consultant for England. I think it's great. I think his knowledge is fantastic. I think the person of Tim Southee is excellent in the dressing room. Everything that goes with it. Got no problem with that. If you're in the football world and a manager comes in, guarantee the 5 coaches will come from, not the nationality of where he's from, but they'll come with close ties with that head coach. So if you appoint Brendan McCullum, I mean, don't be surprised that he wants to work with his people. England have got Paul Collingwood and Marcus Trescothick, who have been there from the previous regime. Jeetan Patel's in there. Tim Southee's in there. I mean, 5 good guys, really, really good guys. But England and ECB and before Rob Key, I mean, you couldn't even get a conversation or an interview if you didn't have a level 3 or a level 4. So. And level three takes about 2 years to do. Level 4 takes even longer. So there will be people out there questioning this decision. That needs looked at. That needs addressed. The coaching system. My big beef is, well, if we're bringing overseas coaches in, where's our? Because we all talk about pathway in this country, manners. It's all about pathway. Our players are coming from the pathway. Where's our coaches coming from? And if we're not having any English coaches other than Andrew Flintoff in the 100, we ain't got a pathway. So for me, I've got no problem with Tim Southee being bowling consultant for England. What I do have a problem with is that ECB competition, i.e. the 100. Why have we not got 8 England internationals who are coaching that franchise tournament with good coaches underneath them, 3 or 4 coaches underneath them? Then we might get an England coach from our shores in the future. But at this minute in time, I mean, we don't look like getting an English coach because Rob Key doesn't think level 3 and level 4 is worth having because they're not choosing to pick people who have been on that ECB program. But a good appointment. I mean, as I always do, go a long way around answering your questions. I'm quite happy that Tim Southee is in the England dressing room because he's a good man with great experience.
He certainly is, and and also 800 or almost 800 international wickets, so he knows what he's doing. You're listening to Following On with me, Neil Manthorp, alongside former England fast bowler Steve Harmison, as we continue to build up to the start of the Test summer with every ball live for overseas listeners on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. Next up, we'll be joined by England fast bowler and now coach Mark Wood to discuss his coaching debut and a lot more. You're listening to Following On with me, Neil Manthorp, alongside Double Ashes winner Steve Harmison. And a reminder, you can subscribe to the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel for plenty more content, including an interview with England spinner Adil Rashid, who says he's just as motivated now to carry on playing at the age of 37 as he has ever been in his career. Right, we're joined by Mark Wood, England fast bowler and now coach, who's just spent part of the last week as working with Andrew Flintoff, in charge of the Professional County Club Select 11. I can't get my tongue round that. Not catchy, is it? But interesting team, Woody.
Yeah.
So, 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds. I mean, highly talented. And you walked away with a victory for 138 runs against Zimbabwe. How was the experience working with Fred?
Amazing. I've got a 100% record, so I don't know if anybody else wants to ring us up, but I'm obviously on a winning streak. I'm on a hot rod, so yeah. Fred was great. I mean, if you're not inspired to play for Fred, you'll never play for anybody. So, he was amazing. I mean, when he speaks, he's got like this real aura about him. He's got a real way with people, so he was brilliant, and the kids were fantastic as well. The talented 16-year-old, I was nowhere near that good at that age. I mean, some of them. I know they've got a couple of Lions games coming up against India, and I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of them are roundabout for that as well. So, got a good look at Zimbabwe as well, so you can see what they can bring and things like that. But all round a great week, because it wasn't an easy wicket either. It was a flat wicket for young lads to play on, and trying to come up with different plans. I was Neil Colleen's assistant officially. That was my title, Neil Colleen's assistant.
Oh, no.
I thought it was going to be a nice week where I could, get stuck in the bowlers. And then when I first get there, Neil's telling us to put the stumps out and put the balls back in the bag. I thought, this isn't what I signed up for. I thought I was going to give advice, not just be your sort of man that has to do everything for you. But he was great crack killer, and it was nice to learn off him as well. Neil McKenzie was there as a batting coach, and Michael Yardy, and Sarah Taylor as well. So that was a really, great coaching group to be a part of, with plenty of experience, and they were all brilliant.
Two contrasting blokes to coach the bowlers. I
Yeah.
mean, you, which was bouncing off the walls and somewhere in the clouds, and then Neil Colleen, who, I mean, I won't say he has a personality bypass, but what you ever get a go at killer once, and it takes him about 20 minutes or half an hour to speak to you again. So, look, I mean, how did you feel as though, from seeing the game in a different way, from a coaching point of view, that I mean this with all respect, you're closer to the end of your career than you are the start of your career. Is this something that you feel, this might be for me, having just had that experience?
Yeah, it was something I spoke to Rob Key about, and trying to, branch out a little bit, try different things. I've got some other things coming up which I want to try out, and this was the first one on my list, and I'm not sure if if I'll be any good at it. I found it different in this aspect of I'm not in the game, and I didn't like that of like sitting around a lot and waiting for something to happen and not being able to influence anything. But I also felt that it was great for me to go in with the young lads. It wasn't like lads that I knew, or like in a more experienced group where I'd been playing with them or anything like that. So it was easy to sort of go in with fresh ideas, and they were willing to listen, and it was great. I really enjoyed it. Whether it's something I could see myself doing long term, I don't know yet. But for 1 week, it was certainly really enjoyable. And I think, the way that when I play the game, you often don't want to just be like, do this, do that. And like, you have to sort of think about how you're putting it across to people. And that was something that initially at the start, I was trying to get my head around, of not just saying, being a sort of a teller, but also trying to get people to work it out themselves, but also, put it in a way that, well, in the current England setup, we might do this, or, the advice I'm getting from Stephen Harmison, Jimmy Anderson, it might be this. So I was just trying to pull everything together, and it was certainly something that I wouldn't say came naturally to us, but I got better, I felt, as it went on.
Woody, it's understandable with 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds, young lads. I mean, you are an inspiration. You're the fastest bowler in the country, and they naturally will look up to you, and that's fully understandable that you would be a vital part of the team. How does that translate then into the Lions? I mean, you're gonna have senior players there, including Ben Stokes. So people will be looking at that and thinking, how does that work? I mean, do you stand behind Ben in the nets and go, you need to have a stronger wrist, mate? That'll never stand up at international
Absolutely,
level.
absolutely, that's going to happen. And he better listen as well. That is exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to tell him exactly what to do, and he's going to listen. For once, it's not going to be the other way around. It's going to be me telling him, and he's going to listen to me. Well, we'll see how long that lasts anyway. It might last 3 seconds, but we'll see how long that lasts. But I think the lines could be, again, like I just mentioned, with these lads, they were fresh, and I'd never, come across many of them before, so it was nice and easy. But the lines, there'll be lads that I've either played with or played against, so it might be, slightly different. But when you've got Stokes in the dressing room, Flintoff, I might not have to say very much.
Yeah, I mean, the coaching side of it is one thing, and it's great that you're looking at that, because I think a lot of people would look at you and go, "You're made for TV." I've got a face for radio. You've got a personality for the television. I mean, but you still got. I know that for a fact. You've got a huge ambitions to fulfill the rest of your playing days. Where are you at the rehab point of view? And you were told mid-July. Are we still on for that? Are you going strong? Have you had any setbacks? Do you feel as though you're ahead of the time or behind the time?
No, I felt I was behind originally. It's been a slow process, but usually with the other operations I've had, it's been let the scars heal, then start to crack on. This has been a lot slower, bit different kind of surgery. The surgeries I usually have is just stuff taken out or sliced off or something. This has been like they've reconstructed little bits of it and stuff. So it's been a lot slower than I thought. But this last week, just being with the main physio, although I was in a coaching aspect, it was also a chance to have a week solid of rehab. So I was in the gym every day. I did bike tests and strength work, and then these little sort of integrated knee program work, and I've had a fantastic week and feel like I've come on, leaps and bounds there. July is still the goal. That hasn't changed. I think Harmy, and you'll know from your experience as well, that it's never just a straight line in terms of recovery. You have a bit where you might jump up quickly, and then it's sort of you have a little dip, or there's a bit where it just feels like you've plateaued a little bit, where it's just level, and then all of a sudden you get a rise again. So I've had a great week this week. That's not to say that there'll not be setbacks along the way, or things might not go as quick again, but I did initially think it was really slow, and for what I'm like, for someone like me, that was pretty frustrating that I couldn't crack on, and I had to be patient. But like I say, I'm in a much better frame of mind now, thinking things are going along at a better rate.
You spoke fascinatingly on the Sky Sports podcast about the perception of this England team. We heard from Ben in the first part of the programme, and he's obviously, justifiably upset that people say that the England team doesn't care enough and they don't train hard enough. Harmy and I have seen you training. We've seen the England team training. We know they train hard. But there is a sort of the public perception. I mean, it would be different, Harmy and I just said, if the team was winning all the time. But there is a sort of perception that they're a little bit happy-go-lucky, isn't there?
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. I think when we've come out in the media, maybe some of the comments have come across that way, and that doesn't then help your reputation. I think certainly as a group, you would never want to come across as being happy-go-lucky or arrogant or anything like that, because that's certainly not what the lads are like. So I think comments like that do hurt, but again, we probably haven't helped ourselves. So you've got to be realistic and honest and say, look, we've got to change people's mind. Again, if you're winning, it certainly makes it easy. I'm sure other international teams who love a game of golf or love socialising with each other, the microscope isn't on them because they're performing well. And we've had two pretty poor international competitions, which can then put the added pressure on you, and rightly so, that we're questioning around, well, do lads play spin well? Are we getting enough wickets with the seam bowling department? Is there too many runs and over? India and Pakistan, I don't think, are easy places to go for any England team. I will say that. I think historically, it's not like every team has gone there and performed really well. I think if that's no excuse to say that we shouldn't do well there, but I think a bit of perspective on the difference between the Tests and the white ball. The white ball standards have been really high for a long time. After Morgie's era and things like that, you expect that to continue, and we've had a little bit of a dip. But I certainly hope that we can change people's minds on the fact that they don't think we work hard, because I can certainly tell you that is not the case, even behind the scenes when people are at home we've got all you cannot not. I don't think McCullum would stand for people not working hard. It's not who he is. You've got nutritionists, you've got strength coaches, you've got everything that you would want. And, if you're not putting in, that gets fed back to the head coach, who ultimately it costs, if you can't come back for a third spell, or if you're not, putting it in where you should be, or you're not helping the team, that's obviously going to be fed back. So there has to be a certain level of professionalism. I think lads in that time off do different things, and lads enjoy different things. And, if that's what they do in that time off, I think that's it. I mean, you can't just expect lads to be in their hotel rooms 24/7. But again, it's probably commentary that I've just made makes people, yes, pick up and think, well, hold on, you're there to win games. So, if we start winning, and hopefully that can change people's mind.
Yeah, the negative perception is all for me. Like Manna said, I said in the first part of this show, I've never seen an England team work harder. The era you play and the social media side of it, and the camera phones and everything that goes with it, is it makes it even doubly hard. Then you throw in you're in the subcontinent for quite a while. You can't sit in your room. I came up to the team room and had a game of cards with you in one of the test matches, and it's so difficult now. And people will. You've just said there. People whose ears will prick up and say, "Well, you're professional sportsmen, but you're also human beings." And I also said in the first part that if you were going fishing instead of playing golf, nobody would really have a go about that. So I mean, it's an easy stick to beat you with. But just give us a sample size, what it's like to play an international cricket away from home now, especially in the subcontinent, especially downtime.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean,
because that is something that I think people are misunderstanding. Because it's not about golf, it's not about working hard or anything like that. You're trying to sort of keep away from what you do on the field to try and recharge your batteries, to make sure that when you go back on the field, you've charged. Because I've always found it very, very difficult at night times to switch off when you weren't happening, and that was when mentally and physically you started draining yourself.
I think that's the nail on the head there. I think it's mentally, it's about a switch off. I think you mentioned social media there as well. Like, that's a huge part of it. The India are huge cricket fans. You two both know what it's like. If you go to a golf course, these people want pictures, or they'll say, right, we'll allow you to come on. We've got a competition on today. We'll allow you to play on the golf course, but we need a social media post about you playing golf. So the public are seeing England ads playing golf everywhere. They're playing golf here, they're playing golf there. But that's because, that's a mental switch off. There's not much else to do in the subcontinent. The golf courses are pretty good. They're a cricket mad country, so you can't just walk the streets, or otherwise it's like Southee Central. And at times, if someone like Ben Stokes or Johnny Bairstow, easy recognizable, ginger hair, pale skin in India, like, people swarm you. They know who they are straight away. They know that cricketers, so that they're on them straight away. And then you're restricting what you do. You can't go around the shopping centre. You can't go for food. They're like sort of screaming, and that's not bad. It's just that's the way that it is. It's just such a, it's like a religion there. The cricket's massive. So I think to be able to go somewhere where you can be outside, switch off for a few hours. I mean, I don't play golf very much myself. I mean, maybe once or twice a year, but to be able to allow the lads to do things. I remember when we were in Pakistan, we were putting a big screen up, a projector screen of a Amsterdam cafe, and having teas and coffees as if we were in Amsterdam, just to try and change the mood and make it lighthearted. And because you've got security on your floor with like weapons, and there's people protecting you everywhere, and it just feels very confined. So when you're at training, you're full on, and when you come back, you didn't want to sit in your room and think cricket, cricket, cricket. You want a chance to, like Harmy says perfectly there, recharge. Not think about, right, tomorrow the ball's coming down here, I've got to score runs, I'm under pressure, we're not playing well. You just want a chance to try and switch your mind off, and then when the game starts again, you're back on it and your focus is there.
Finally, Woody, you don't play golf or drink, so how do you unwind apart from playing a game of cards with Harmy?
Harmy's a bandit as well. He came in, he was like, yeah, I don't really want to play, and then within 2 rounds he was winning. And he didn't. He said, I said, "Oh, you play for?" "Oh, I have played before." I was like, "All right, absolute bandit."
Post-sport
so
champion.
that's right. So I know I just try and I find it quite easy actually. I bounce around the hotels and try and just find whoever I can, and yeah, I don't find it too bad. It's more I find it hard at just being in the room. I don't mind just walking around the hotel or going to the physio room or chatting to people. It's my worst bit's just being in the room. I feel like I'm bouncing off the walls. So yeah.
That's why they got you.
I've even been at the golf courses as just someone's caddy. I haven't played. I've just walked around. The one time I did that, I got stung by a bee. Couldn't believe it. You couldn't write that. Never again.
That's why they've got you coaching.
Exactly. Keep us busy.
Woody, thank you so much for your time. Get well soon. Can't wait to see you back on the field, on the right side of the boundary. The always brilliant Mark Wood. And a reminder, you can hear live commentary of all of England's Test matches this summer on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. You're listening to Following On with me, Neil Manthorp, along with Double Ashes winner Steve Harmison. Next up, we'll speak live to the former Zimbabwe fast bowler Ed Rainsford to see how they're preparing for their first Test in England in 22 years. You're listening to Following On with me, Neil Manthorp, alongside former England fast bowler Steve Harmison. And if you've missed any of the show or you wish to catch up, you can download the podcast from the Following On feed, as always, available via the free talkSPORT app or wherever you get your podcasts. Right then, let's turn our attention back to the Zimbabwe Test match, which kicks off England's 6-match Test summer. We're joined by former Zimbabwe fast bowler Ed Rainsford. Played 39 ODIs, better known as a commentator these days, but I always like to remind people he did take 242 first-class wickets at an average of 20. He was a very fine cricketer in his day, but he's a very fine commentator now as well. And he'll be part of the talkSPORT team, bringing you that Zimbabwe Test match, ball by ball, for a global audience beginning on Thursday. Ed, great to have you with us. I know you've just landed. Flight overnight at the sharp end of the plane.
Hello, Manus.
Hello, Ed. Ed, so Zimbabwe's warm-up game, really interesting. I found it fascinating. I mean, it was a very young team, the Professional County Club Select 11, catchy name. But I mean, 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds. Zimbabwe lost the game by 138 runs, couldn't bat out the final 5 hours on day 4. But I don't know, miles in the legs, runs and wickets. The result aside, it looked like a pretty good workout.
Yeah, it did, man. I think that's what they tried to do, try and get some miles in the legs, try and get their feet underneath the desk, try and get an understanding of conditions. I know Grace Road can get very, very flat when it really wants to. So their bowlers had to sort of put in some hard yards. What was interesting about that 11 as well is that Raza didn't play, but he's in the test squad. And I thought maybe he would be able to get out there and maybe get a bat. I know there's sort of some changes with him and the PSL and coming out of Pakistan and then going to Dubai and then coming through to this test match. But it was interesting that he didn't play. It's also interesting that Muzarabani didn't get a full workout, but it was more about perhaps, like you say, acclimatizing, getting used to the conditions. And you're right. Those young players in the county setup, all starting their own careers, came out and really challenged the Zimbabwean side.
Ed, it's the first Test match in England since 2003. How are people in Zimbabwe feeling about this? Because, I mean, we just spoke before the show there, and Zimbabwe playing a lot of Test cricket this year.
Yeah, hi, homie. How are you? Mate, everyone is so excited. Yesterday, I had to drop my daughter off to get onto a bus. She's going away for a week on a school trip. Almost every parent sort of just came up to me and was like, "Oh, we're so excited. Are you going over?" I said, "Yes, I'm going over. We can't wait to watch. We can't wait to see how the lads go." I mean, if you go onto social media from the Zimbabwe Twitter account or the X account or whoever, sort of the journalists as well, everybody is so excited to have this test match happen. I think from the administrative side as well, from the playing side, from the ex-players, I understand that some of the ex-players that are in and around England are also trying to make their way to Nottingham to make their presence felt as well. So it's a really important one, but a really exciting one for Zimbabwe.
Is there apprehension that the team will be able to live up to the occasion, Ed? I mean, it's been 20 years Test cricket struggle. I mean, a voluntary stepping aside from Test cricket for 5 or 6 years. And now it seems finally the rest of the cricket playing world is once again beginning to embrace Zimbabwe. I mean, there's 11 Test matches this year. I think that's more than you've had in the last decade.
Yeah, I mean, again, credit to the administration that's been able, and they'll be hosting most of them at home. So it's not the cheapest thing to do to host Test matches, but they've decided to do that, and they want Test cricket to be a real cornerstone of their year this year and their cricketing season. But yeah, the apprehension is there to some degree, but I think it's more excitement. They really want to get onto the field. They really want to come out here and sort of create a little bit of history as well. And so important that the door has been open for Zimbabwe to play against England, hopefully against Australia. I know they'll have South Africa after South Africa play the World Test Championship final against Australia. They got 2 Test matches at home against them and then New Zealand. But they'll really want to focus on this and they really want to do well. I know it's going to be a tough ask. It's a 4-day test. I've been following a little bit of what Ben Stokes has been speaking about, and he's saying, I will give them the respect they deserve, but it's also a summer of cricket where they kick off their test summer and then go into India, so they'll be trying to get their ducks in a row. So Zimbabwe possibly want to just stay in the moment, I think, and try and really sort of give everybody that little bit of excitement and try and elongate the game.
Yeah, you've mentioned it about what it means to the people of Zimbabwe and where Zimbabwe are trying to get to over the course of this next 12 months with Test cricket. But they'll also want to win. And how do they do that?
Yeah. Like I said, they've got to try and sort of elongate the game. They once they get onto that field, they sort of got to try and get rid of that anxiety, that nervousness that will obviously be there, and don't let the occasion get too big too quickly. Because if you do that, with the home side, with the very dangerous batting lineup, it can get away from you very, very quickly. So they're going to try and maybe get into a little bit of a holding pattern, try and stem the run flow, because if England do bat first, and whenever they do bat, they're going to be batting at a rate. So try and pick up wickets as much as they can through that period and try and peg England back. And then sort of, try and stun their bowlers, try and build an innings, try and maybe make England make the play, rather than them maybe getting pushed into a corner. Ask England to make the play, and possibly the door could be left open.
Got to play to your strengths, haven't you? I mean, Blessing Muzarabani, you said, didn't have that much of a workout, but he's just been signed by the Royal Challengers Bengaluru, I think, in the IPL. He's a key man. I mean, if he, it's all 6'8" of him. I wanted to ask you about him and the rest of the bowlers, but also England will bully Zimbabwe if they get on top. They won't they won't back off. They'll bully. Who are the figures who'll give a bit back? Who'll stand up for Zimbabwe and can give a bit of confrontation back?
All of them. They've all got a little bit of vinegar. They've all got a little bit about them. They've got a bit of spice, and I think they'll all try and sort of stand up. Sean Williams will be front and center. Welsh will be in there. Ben Curran will be in there. All of them have this fighting ability. But like I said, it's about that occasion. When you step over the rope, don't let the occasion overraw you. I think that is the main thing. Keep your emotions and everything that's around you in check. Just touching on Blessing Muzarabani, I did mention he was signed before he went to Bangladesh and then decided to go play those 2 Test matches. And I must remind you, Andy Flower's the head coach of Bangalore, and he seems to pick up Blessing Muzarabani wherever he goes, whether it's in the PSL, whether it's in the CPL, or whether it's now in the IPL. So they think highly of him, and I think if he has a good Test match as well, it could help Zimbabwe.
Gary Balance is part of the coaching team. I knew Gary from when he was at Yorkshire as a young lad. We all know the circumstances to why he sort of finished his career and went back to Zimbabwe. But how important is it that Gary's knowledge of playing Test cricket in England and just cricket in general in this country to pass on to try and help, like you said, the acclimatization point of view?
I think firstly, there's a great deal of respect there for Gary Balance, having played for England, did well for England. Obviously, he had his challenges, then went back to Zimbabwe, qualified, started off, and then sort of walked away from the game. And he's been in and around all these players, throwing a lot of balls in the players' ears, and he has a lot to offer. And I think it was a great move by Zimbabwe cricket to rope him in, to try and bring that little bit of knowledge, also a little bit of calm, and also consult around the team and how they can go about playing against this England side and also in the England conditions. And I think it was a fabulous move. And it also, for me, it sort of resonates perhaps where Zimbabwe cricket go to from a transition point of view, and where they could see Gary Ballance being part of their coaching side, or their being a consultant, or adding more value in the backroom side of things. Because definitely, I've spoken to him. He wants to put his hand up, and he has a really good cricket mind, I think, and he understands these conditions. And I think he'll be an important part. I also be interested to see how he handles the occasion, having played for England, played for Zimbabwe, and also had some challenges in between there. So it'll be interesting to see how he manages that as well.
How do you feel personally? I mean, you made your debut as you're fresh out of school. I mean, Zimbabwe cricket was in a crisis then. It's been in a perpetual crisis for 20 years. You've now made a name for yourself as an established commentator. You've commentated around the world, but not in England. So how do you feel?
Oh, I tell you what, Manners, it's a bucket list. You know this, and I can be extremely honest with everybody and yourself. And I said this to you probably 2 months ago. I said, Manners, if there's anything I could do in my cricketing career or my commentary side of things, is to commentate on a game of cricket in England. And how perfect is it that it's against Zimbabwe and the home side, England, in Nottingham. And it's an absolute privilege. I'll be nervous as well, man. You're going to have to hold my hand, my sweaty palms, as I try and get my words out. But it's an absolute privilege, and I'm so thankful for the opportunity, and I actually can't wait.
Harmy, just finally, your memories of the 2003 test against Zimbabwe, the last time they were in England?
I remember devastated when Michael Vaughan lost the toss and Streaky opened the bowling at Chester Street. The first ball of the first ball of the test match at my home ground. I mean, it was freezing cold that day. But no, it was always a challenge. I did an air tour in 2000, I think it was, or 99 to Zimbabwe, and it was a wonderful country there before obviously the trouble started. And that was a great team. Michael Vaughan's team was led then, but it was always a challenge. And like Ed said there, whether it comes to sort of playing abilities, both bat and ball, might be one thing on where England are and Zimbabwe are, but whenever you played against Zimbabweans, they never give you an inch from a fighting point of view, and that is something that they're going to need at Trent Bridge, and that's what they had in the likes of the two Flower brothers, Alistair Campbell, obviously the great man Heath Streak, what a legend of a bowler and a person he was. So they were all in and around that group in 2003 when I played, and it was always a fight. I mean, it was always a fight and a challenge. And yeah, you might have more ability than them, but them as a group, togetherness was always something that stuck out back then. And I think over the course of these next 11 test matches, I think they're going to need that to get themselves a foothold back into test cricket.
Ed Rainsford, I know you've got a couple of days in London before you go up to Nottingham. Get your running shoes on and get rid of those flying cobwebs with a run along the banks of the Thames, mate.
I always bring them with me, and my bowling boots, just in case someone gets injured.
I've normally got mine, but I'm still in the wrapper from the last 10 years.
Ed Rainsford, thank you so much for your time. What a pleasure, and we'll have a great test match.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
Fast bowler Ed Rainsford. And a reminder, you can hear live ball-by-ball commentary of England against Zimbabwe for overseas listeners on the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel. You're listening to Following On with me, Neil Manthorp, alongside Durham Hall of Famer Steve Harmison. Next up, we'll round up some of the week's other stories and bring you the final word. You're listening to Following On with me, Neil Manthorp, alongside the former #1 bowler in the world, Steve Harmison. Make sure you subscribe to the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel, where, among other videos, you can watch an exclusive interview with former Warwickshire captain Dermot Reeve, in which he discusses what it was like to captain Brian Lara during their time at Warwickshire. Quick word, Harmy, on the county championship. Worcestershire. I mean, that lots and lots of eye-catching stories, but Worcestershire's win. I mean, they're still bottom, but it means everyone has now won in the championship. They've had a really tough time of it. Bit of a spicy wicket, but you know what? Maybe roll the dice and just play on result wickets and
Yeah.
see where it gets them.
Absolutely. Like we talked about with Essex playing on spinning ones. I mean, why not play on something which suits you? They've got a lot of, I would say, bits and pieces cricketers, bits and pieces bowlers. Matty Waite has gone to Worcester and from Yorkshire, where he was probably never going to get a look in, and now he's making a great career for himself. Down in the West Country, runs and wickets. He just seems as though he holds that a little bit like Ryan Higgins when Ryan Higgins, from Middlesex, gets the runs, gets wickets, and he's front and centre and everything. So, look, we always knew it was going to be a tough year for Worcester. It always is in the first division. But if you can make a spicy wicket, make one. I feel for Essex. I mean, they're not going to have Jordan Cox that much. Depending on how Sam Cook goes this week, they've lost a lot of runs and a lot of wickets in a really short space of time, coupled with the fact of the retirement of Sir Alistair Cook as well. I'm sure Chris Silverwood's scratching his head, and Anthony McGraw's got out of Essex just at the right time. So, look, great win for Worcester. I thought it's an even better one for Leicester over Middlesex Manners. I mean, they've won 3 in a row now. Alfonso Thomas, James Taylor, they're doing a great job there. They're up. That for me is them. They're more or less promoted now, so they're now going to go and try and win the second division. And they look as though they've got, again, talking about Worcester, a lot of good all-round cricketers. Their number 11 averages about 25 in first-class cricket. So they've got a formula. They play to the formula like they did a few years ago in one-day cricket when they were strong in the sort of early 2000s. Good on Leicester, because that's a big win as well in the race to finish in the top 2, because Middlesex and obviously Lancashire are probably at the start of the season the favourites for the top of the division.
You remember at the beginning of last summer, I tipped Leicester to go up. I thought they were too good to be lurking in Division 2. I was obviously just a season early, because as you say, they I mean, they're as good as up. They're not, mathematically, but I think they can start planning for Division 1 cricket. Right, let's change subject. We've got lots of little bits and pieces to get through in part 4. The other big story in women's cricket, Sophie Eccleston, deemed not fit enough to be included in England's white ball squads against the West Indies. Maya Bashir has been dropped as well. There's some big decisions being made there.
Well, if you're going to make a big decision, and you start with one, and if one of the the big guns, the so-called big players is not up to it, I mean, you can't have one rule for one and one rule for the other. I mean, I'm sure in bygone years, and like Mark Woods just said, Ben Stokes said before that, you've got nowhere to hide. They've got GPS vests on, you've got nutritionists, you've got fitness coaches, you've got everything at your disposal to tell whether a player is fit enough and deemed fit enough to do their jobs properly. And obviously, Nat Skipper-Brunt, Charlotte Edwards, I don't think they've made this lightly, but it's a big statement. Sophie Eccleston, that's a massive statement to make, that if a person is not fit enough to be in the group, we won't pick them, no matter how talented they are. So I'm sure Sophie Eccleston will take this on the chin, get herself in a position to stake a claim for selection further down the line, and I've got no doubt she'll be back, because she's one of the best cricketers that's probably ever played the game in England. But it's a massive statement from Charlotte Edwards.
I wonder whether Charlotte had a lot to do with, or she was probably instrumental actually, in the announcement that Lydia Greenway will be a full-time national selector.
Yeah, I think so. I think Charlotte's got so much, skin in English cricket when it comes to what she did as a player and what she's done domestically as a coach around the world, that I think when she's being asked to do the job, I'd imagine there will be a lot of, points that she wanted across, i.e., I want X as a selector, I want the X as captain, I want this fitness level, I want that, I want another. And if you go with me there, I'll take the job. So I would imagine that Charlotte Edwards has had in before the interview stage that she's had a few demands towards the ECB that this is how I see the plan going, the blueprint that I want to work to. And Lydia Greenway is probably somebody really close to Charlotte Edwards, who was high on the list of, well, if I'm going to pick a team, I want to be confident that that team's being selected through the eyes of somebody I trust, and that is obviously Lydia.
Slightly blurred line between whether Eccleston was actually mechanically fit as opposed to aerobically. She is coming back from injury. But anyway, I'm sure there's plenty of England cricket left in her. Just two little other news items before we move on to the final word. Big surprise to South African cricket followers that 8 players in the World Test Championship squad have actually been summoned back to prepare for the World Test Championship final. So they'll miss the IPL playoffs. That was highly unexpected, but Cricket South Africa have actually stood up and said, you know what, we did commit our players to a full IPL season, but that was when the final was on May the 25th. So they have been recalled before the knockout stages and before the playoffs, and they'll return to South Africa on the 30th after the group stages of the IPL, and they'll then travel to England, play Zimbabwe in a warm-up game from the 3rd to the 6th at Arundel before the final starts at Lord's. So yeah, that was interesting. Roston Chase's appointment as West Indies Test captain is fascinating. I mean, his numbers are, shall we say, unflattering. I think he averages 26 with the bat and almost 50 with his off breaks. So it's not about averages. They interviewed 5 players, and there was all sorts of psychometric testing, and apparently he interviewed best. I mean, he's 33 years old. He's not going to lead, apart from that 8 for 60 he took against England. Do you remember?
Yeah, the non-spinning off spinner. Oh my word, he don't spin it, and within 4 hours he had 8 for 50.
Just really interesting appointment. I mean, it's an appointment as captain. It's not sort of following the basis of who are our best players, who's guaranteed a place in the team, and then pick a captain. He's been selected as captain on his captaincy credentials.
Yeah, I think it's obviously one that they see as a leader in the dressing room, that can fill both sides of obviously batting and bowling. He's a good player, Roston Chase. I know his numbers doesn't suggest that, but he is. There is a good player in there, even though me and Goffey did say he was a non-spinner and off-spinner in that Barbados Test match. But it's interesting. It just seems as though Brathwaite probably just had enough. I mean, he's carried them with the bat and from a leadership point of view for quite a while now, with a lot of off-field politics that goes with West Indies cricket. I just want to go back to the South African one, Manners, and ask you, is this the first sign that the SA20 and having the contracts like the SA20 have got, that South African Cricket Board possibly have a little bit more pull towards their players, where before they would have likely stayed with the IPL franchises, but now there's a little bit more money in South African cricket. There's a bit more money with the Indians and the franchises. I'm pleased that they're coming back, because we want to see a strong South Africa.
Yeah, I don't think this is a portent for things to come. I think this is purely down to the force majeure of the one-day war between Pakistan and India, which forced the postponement of the competition of the tournament, the IPL, for a week. South Africa is completely enthralled to the IPL and to the BCCI, or Cricket South Africa is, and so this was purely a one-off, I think. And I don't think that Cricket South Africa are particularly uncomfortable about being in the pockets of the BCCI. They are financially dependent on them. But as you say, I mean, I'm just thrilled for the World Test Championship final. Hopefully that game against Zimbabwe goes well, and they prepare and are as ready as they possibly can be. Running out of time, as always, it's on to the final word. My eye was caught, Harmy, by Ben Allison bowling his brother Charlie in the county championship match between Worcestershire and Essex. Ben's 25, Charlie's just 20. And it got me thinking of brother on brother against each other, conflict on the field rather than being in the same team. You can think of lots of teams with brothers in it, but brothers against each other. Did you ever play against your brother, Ben?
No,
Ben
I didn't
Harmison?
play against Ben. I've had a lot of conflicts with Ben through growing up. And, I had 1 or 2 conflicts in dressing rooms because obviously I had to manage him for a football team for 3.5 seasons. So we had a few conflicts on that, but never played against him. A couple of conflicts in the nets, but he didn't really upset his big brother at that time because obviously, from a bowling point of view, I wasn't quite nice to face from 22 yards or sometimes 20 in the nets. So no, we didn't. But it was great. It's great to see brothers, playing against each other. It's always nice to see them play with each other. And like I've said many, many times before, 2005 Ashes was one thing, but walking off, winning the trophy for Durham, the county championship, after 16 years in their history, and when you do it with your brother, that's the best photo I've ever had on a cricket field, and one of the best feelings I've ever had to walk off the field with a younger brother winning the trophy is amazing.
Okay, the final word, and this is Kent. Grant Stewart. You saw the scorecard. I mean, he's 31-year-old, Aussie born, Italian mum, so he doesn't care. Anyway, he's come in at number 8 and scored 182. Chris Benjamin, who made his name with Warwickshire a couple of years ago, is now with Kent. They added 264 for the 7th wicket for Kent against Gloucestershire, surpassing the previous record. I'm just slightly self-indulgent here because nothing fascinates me more than a really old record being broken. That 7th wicket partnership of 264 surpassed the 248 between Arthur Day and Punter Humphreys. That's a wonderful name. In Taunton in 1908. Harmy, let me tell you something about 1908.
Were you commentating?
It was in the shut up. It was in the days when doctors routinely prescribed opium to patients with headaches. It was before the invention of the electronic fridge.
Oh, no.
This was it's just extraordinary. How has that record stood for that long? And how could it just be shattered so gloriously by Grant Stewart and Chris Benjamin?
Arthur Day and Punter Humphreys must be 2 fantastic tail end players. Or I mean, 1908 would they have been playing 4-day cricket? Would they have been playing? How long would the game been? That's
3 days.
3-day cricket. So yeah, I mean, I can see 264 being done in the modern day with the bats and the ball and the boundaries and everything that goes with it. But I would have thought it would have taken a lot more than 3 days to get 248 if you were batting at number 8 and number 9. So how many did the team get? It must have gotten about 600. But great partnership, and good for Kent because, I mean, they've had a couple of struggles. They started the season brilliantly, then they lost a lot of bowlers. And so, Adam Hollyoak's he's got off to a great start down there. And Chris Benjamin, he was at Durham for a game when I was involved with Neil Killeen against Sussex and when James Franklin lost his job. And what a lovely, lovely lad he is, Chris Benjamin. So it's nice to see him do well. And it's great to see Kent do well as well.
And that's it. That's a wrap for this week. You've been listening to Following On with me, Neil Manthorp, alongside former England fast bowler Steve Harmison. We'll be back at the same time next week to look back at England against Zimbabwe at Trent Bridge and to build up to the start of the white ball season. But for now, this has been another edition of Following On.